Will we respond with rejection, betrayal, fear, or with wholehearted devotion? The unnamed woman reminds us that true discipleship gladly gives our best to Christ, recognizing His incomparable worth. Hi, today's devotion is Mark 14, Contrast at the Crossroads. The Gospel reveals striking contrasts in the way people respond to Jesus Christ and His message. Mark 14 provides some of the clearest examples. In Mark 14, 1-2, the chief priests and the scribes are secretly looking for a way to arrest Jesus and kill Him. Their hostility shows the hardness of hearts that reject the truth even when it stands plainly before them. Shockingly, betrayal also comes from within Jesus' own circle. Judas Iscariot goes to the chief priest to hand over Jesus. Mark 14, 10-11. Later, Judas identifies Jesus with a kiss, an act normally associated with affection and respect, turning a symbol of love into a tool of betrayal. Mark 14, 43-50. In contrast, an unnamed woman expresses deep devotion to Jesus. She breaks an alabaster flask of pure nard and pours it on Him. The perfume is worth about 300 denarii, nearly a year's wages. While some criticize her for wasting such an expensive gift, Jesus honors her act of sacrificial love and declares that what she has done will be remembered wherever the gospel is preached. Mark 14, 3-9. Another contrast appears during Jesus' trial. When questioned by the high priest and the council, Jesus initially remains silent, but when asked directly if He is the Christ, the Son of the Blessed, He answers truthfully, despite the grave consequences. I am, and you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven. Mark 14:62. Jesus stands firm in truth, even when it leads to suffering. Meanwhile, outside in the courtyard, Peter the Apostle faces questioning about his association with Jesus. The disciple who once boldly declared loyalty now denies knowing Him 3 times. Mark 14:66-71. Fear overcomes his earlier confidence. A huge contrast indeed. Mark 14 therefore presents a series of powerful contrasts. Religious leaders plotting murder versus a woman offering sacrificial devotion. Judas betraying Jesus versus Jesus faithfully submitting to the Father's will. Jesus boldly confessing the truth versus Peter denying Him in fear. These contrasts challenge us to examine our own responses to Jesus. Will we respond with rejection, betrayal, fear, or with wholehearted devotion? The unnamed woman reminds us that true discipleship gladly gives our best to Christ, recognizing His incomparable worth. Reflection and application. Gospel of Mark chapter 14 invites us to examine our own hearts in light of the contrasting responses to Jesus Christ. Some in the passage rejected Jesus outright. Others, like Judas Iscariot, appeared close to Him, yet ultimately chose betrayal. Even a devoted disciple like Peter faltered under pressure and fear. In contrast, the unnamed woman demonstrated wholehearted devotion, giving something precious because she recognized the incomparable worth of Christ. These responses remind us that proximity to Jesus does not automatically equal true devotion. It is possible to know about Him, serve around Him, or even follow Him publicly, yet struggle with fear, compromise, or misplaced priorities. At the same time, The woman's act shows that genuine love for Christ expresses itself in costly devotion. She gave extravagantly, not calculating the cost but responding to the value of the one before her. Application questions. Do my actions reflect wholehearted devotion to Jesus or cautious distance? B. When following Christ becomes costly or uncomfortable, am I tempted to respond like Peter with fear and denial? C. What would it look like today to offer my alabaster jar, my time, resources, reputation, or plans in loving devotion to Christ? The good news of the gospel is that even those who fail like Peter can be restored by grace. Yet, Mark 14 calls us to consider, how will we respond to Jesus today?